Like, subscribe, and hype the video. Also, leave a comment on any topics you want to hear about in the future. Okay, let's dive in. In our last episode, we walked through the real, ongoing scientific case for Planet 9, an undiscovered planet at the edge of our solar system, suspected based on the gravitational clustering of distant objects, and potentially confirmable within the next few years by a next-generation telescope in Chile. But there's a completely separate, much older and much wilder version of this story that's been circulating online and in certain communities for decades. A story that involves a rogue planet on a collision course with Earth, ancient Sumerian records of a hidden world, and government cover-ups of an incoming catastrophe. Today, we're walking through all of it, where the Nibiru myth actually came from, what rogue planets really are and how they actually work, and what the documented evidence says about every version of these claims. Let's get into it. Before getting into the conspiracy theories, let's establish what rogue planets actually are, because the real science here is genuinely fascinating on its own terms and worth understanding clearly first. A rogue planet, also called a free-floating planet or an interstellar planet, is a planet-sized object that has been ejected from its original star system and now drifts through interstellar space without orbiting any star at all. This isn't a theoretical possibility. Astronomers have actually detected what appear to be rogue planets drifting through our galaxy, using a detection technique called gravitational microlensing, which involves measuring the way a massive object bends and brightens the light of a background star as it passes in front of it. How do planets get ejected from their home systems in the first place? The same kind of gravitational chaos we talked about in the context of Planet 9's formation, during the early history of a solar system. When multiple large planets are forming and migrating simultaneously, close gravitational encounters can fling smaller planets out of their systems entirely, sending them on permanent trajectories into the void between stars. Some models of early solar system dynamics suggest our own solar system may have ejected one or more planet-sized objects during its chaotic early history. These ejected worlds drift through the galaxy in complete darkness, heated only by whatever residual warmth remains from their own formation or radioactive decay in their cores, in some cases potentially maintaining subsurface liquid water under thick ice shells for billions of years, even without any star to warm them from above. Like, subscribe, and hype the video. And now let's get into where the much wilder version of this story actually came from. The Nibiru conspiracy theory, in its modern form, traces back primarily to a woman named Zechariah Sitchin, who published a series of books beginning in 1976, claiming that ancient Sumerian text described a hidden planet called Nibiru, home to an alien civilization called the Anunnaki, which supposedly passed through the inner solar system on a regular, long orbital cycle and had visited Earth in ancient times, influencing early human civilization in the process. Sitchin's interpretations of Sumerian texts were rejected by professional Assyriologists and ancient language scholars, who pointed out that his translations were not consistent with the established, academically accepted meanings of the original cuneiform writing he was citing, and that the texts he referenced don't actually describe a hidden planet in any way that mainstream scholarship supports. The modern doomsday version of the Nibiru theory, which specifically claims a rogue planet is currently on a near-term collision course with Earth, and that governments worldwide are suppressing this information, took hold more broadly in the late 1990s and early 2000s, circulating primarily online, and has been attached to a series of predicted catastrophe dates, each of which has come and gone without incident. The dates shift regularly as each predicted event fails to materialize, with new timelines being proposed to replace the old ones. Here's one of the clearest, most direct problems with the governments are hiding an incoming rogue planet claim. A planet-sized object on a near-term collision course with Earth would be detectable by amateur astronomers using commercially available equipment, not just by government-controlled observatories. There are hundreds of thousands of amateur astronomers worldwide, equipped with backyard telescopes and connected to independent observation networks, who actively catalog asteroids, comets, and other solar system objects. Many significant near-Earth object discoveries have been made entirely by amateur observers, not professional institutions. A planet large enough to threaten Earth would be detectable at enormous distances by even modestly equipped amateur observers, and would be visible to the naked eye well before any actual close approach. Suppressing that kind of detection would require silencing not just NASA and major space agencies, but the entire worldwide community of independent backyard astronomers in dozens of countries, many of whom have no connection to any government and every incentive to publish a discovery of that magnitude immediately. The coordination required to suppress a real incoming planet from this many independent observers simultaneously makes the cover-up scenario logistically impossible to sustain in any realistic way. Like, subscribe and hype the video. And let's talk about what the Planet 9 research actually has and doesn't have to do with any of this. One of the more interesting and somewhat frustrating dynamics in covering this topic is that the real Planet 9 research and the Nibiru conspiracy theory are often conflated online, as if they're the same claim or one validates the other. They're not, and it's worth being clear about exactly where they differ. Planet 9, as proposed by Battigan and Brown, is estimated to be orbiting the Sun at an average distance somewhere between 400 and 800 times the Earth-Sun distance, so far away that even at its closest point in its orbit, it would still be vastly farther from Earth than any planet in the traditional solar system. At that distance, it poses no gravitational threat to Earth, the inner planets, or anything in the familiar part of the solar system. The research proposing its existence is about detecting it and understanding the solar system's structure, not about any incoming danger to Earth. Nibiru claims, in contrast, typically describe a planet-sized object on a dramatically different trajectory, one that brings it dangerously close to Earth on a timescale of years or decades. There is no scientific data, no orbital calculation, no telescope observation, and no credible published research supporting any object of this description currently on any such trajectory. The claimed object's existence has been specifically addressed and rejected by NASA's Near-Earth Object Program, which tracks every known object with a trajectory that could plausibly approach Earth, and has found no evidence of any such object. Here's the part of this topic where the real science and the legitimate concern actually do overlap, because there is a genuinely real scientifically supported version of the something from the outer solar system could disturb the inner solar system concern. It just looks very different from the Nibiru narrative. The Oort cloud, the vast distant shell of frozen objects at the very edge of the solar system, is believed to be the source of long-period comets that take hundreds, thousands, or even millions of years to complete one orbit. Occasionally, gravitational disturbances from passing stars, molecular clouds, or the gravitational influence of the Milky Way's own structure can nudge objects out of the Oort cloud and send them falling inward toward the Sun on paths that can bring them into the inner solar system. If Planet 9 does exist at the edge of the solar system, one of the scientific questions researchers are genuinely interested in is whether its gravity could influence the trajectories of Oort cloud objects over very long timescales, potentially affecting the rate at which long-period comets fall inward. This is a real area of active investigation. But the timescales involved are thousands to millions of years, not the near-term doomsday scenarios circulated in conspiracy communities, and there is no evidence of any specific, imminent threat connected to any of this. So here's where everything in this topic actually lands. Rogue planets are genuinely real and genuinely fascinating objects, drifting through interstellar space in total darkness, potentially harboring subsurface oceans under their ice for billions of years, with no star to warm them. Planet 9 is a genuinely serious, ongoing scientific hypothesis supported by real statistical evidence and potentially confirmable within years. And the Nibiru doomsday theory, while it borrows the general language of hidden planets, has no credible evidence base, has failed to produce any of its predicted events on any of its predicted timelines. and faces the basic logistical impossibility of hiding a planet-sized object from hundreds of thousands of independent amateur observers worldwide. The real story of what's at the edge of our solar system is extraordinary enough on its own. It doesn't need embellishment to be worth caring about. If you've made it through both episodes, let me know in the comments whether you think Planet 9 will actually be confirmed in the next few years. Like, subscribe, and hype the video, and I'll see you in the next one.